You know, artificial intelligence is moving so incredibly fast. It's gone from being this abstract buzzword to a tool that's absolutely mission critical in major industries. And of course, with that speed comes a whole new vocabulary. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the 12 essential AI terms you really need to know so you can speak the language of the future, well, with confidence. Let's get right into it.
So, does this sound familiar? You're in a meeting, and you hear a term like RAG thrown around, and you're nodding along thinking, yeah, I kind of get it. But if you had to explain it yourself, things might get a little fuzzy, right? Hey, you are not alone. Our goal today is to bring these concepts into sharp focus, so you can navigate this whole AI revolution feeling completely on top of it.
Okay, let's start with the absolute foundation. These first three components, they're really the building blocks for everything else we're going to cover today. First up, generative AI, or GenAI for short. For years, AI was all about analyzing data that already existed, finding patterns, making predictions. The huge shift with GenAI is that it creates something entirely new. It's the difference between an AI that can identify a cat in a photo and one that can literally paint a picture of a cat on Mars. When you hear about tools like ChatGPT or Midjourney, you're hearing about generative AI.
So what's the engine driving all this generative AI stuff? Well, it's the large language model, or LLM. Just picture this massive digital brain that's been trained on a staggering amount of text. From books, websites, articles, we're talking billions, sometimes even trillions of words. This vast training is what lets it understand our questions and generate those remarkably human-like responses. It's the core tech inside ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude.
Now, let's build on that idea. If an LLM is a specific type of engine, then a foundation model is kind of like a powerful, pre-built engine block that you can then adapt for a whole bunch of different vehicles. It's this massive, general-purpose model that serves as a super versatile starting point for more specialized tasks.
And here's why that's such a big deal. Instead of building a brand new AI from scratch for every single problem, a company can take one powerful foundation model and just fine-tune it for very specific jobs. So the exact same base model could be tweaked to analyze clinical trial data in a pharma company and also to detect financial fraud in a bank. It just makes developing powerful custom AI incredibly more efficient.
Okay, so with those foundational pieces in place, let's look at where AI is really heading. We're seeing this major shift from AI that just gives you answers to AI that actually gets up and takes action. And that brings us to agentic AI. The key word here is autonomy, the ability to plan, decide, and act on its own. It's not just about answering a question anymore. It's about independently achieving a goal. Imagine an AI that doesn't just tell you about a supply chain delay, but one that automatically reroutes shipments, notifies customers, and updates the inventory records all by itself. That's the power of agentic AI.
This distinction is absolutely crucial. A classic chatbot is a passive tool. You ask it questions. But an AI agent is a proactive digital worker. You give it tasks to complete. That mindset shift from tool to teammate or employee is probably the most important thing to take away here.
So, to put a nice, clean definition on it, an AI agent is an intelligent digital worker. It combines reasoning and memory with the ability to use tools to get a job done. It's not just spinning out text, it's actually interacting with the digital world to hit a specific objective.
But hey, what happens when a task is just too complex for one worker? Well, you build a team, right? That's the whole idea behind a multi-agent system. It's basically a group of specialized AI agents that work together, each with its own role, to solve a complex problem, just like a digital project team.
Here's a perfect real-world example from clinical development. You could have a safety agent that's constantly monitoring patient data, a compliance agent that's checking protocols, an analysis agent reviewing lab results, and a docs agent preparing all the regulatory paperwork. They all collaborate, just like a human team would, to achieve a really complex goal, but with incredible speed and accuracy.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly powerful, but how do we make sure these systems are accurate, trustworthy, and actually ready for business use? That brings us to our next section, the tools that make AI reliable.
So here's a fundamental challenge we have to face. An LLM's knowledge is basically frozen in time, based on when it was trained. So what happens when your company's procedures or industry regulations change tomorrow? All of a sudden, its answers could become outdated and maybe even dangerously incorrect.
And the solution to that is Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. Yep, that's the term from our opening slide. Think of it as giving the AI an open book test. Before it even generates an answer,
RAG lets the AI look up the latest, real-time info from your trusted sources, like internal databases or your standard operating procedures. This grounds the AI in current facts, which dramatically improves accuracy and makes it truly ready for business.
Next up is something called prompt engineering. And honestly, the simplest way to think about this is garbage in, garbage out. The quality of an AI's output is directly tied to the quality of your input. It's just like briefing a new team member, right? You have to provide clear context, constraints, and objectives. That skill of crafting really effective instructions, that is prompt engineering.
Now let's talk about the context window. An easy way to think about this is as the AI's short-term memory. If it has a small window, the AI might forget key details from earlier in the conversation, which leads to weird, inconsistent answers. But a large context window, well, that lets it hold much more information in its head at once, letting it follow complex instructions and maintain a really coherent conversation.
And finally, let's talk about tool use. This is what makes an AI truly operational. It's the ability for an AI agent to connect to and actually use other software. An agent with tool use can go retrieve lab results from a database, run a calculation in a spreadsheet, and then automatically draft an email with the results. It's what bridges the gap between just generating text and actually performing real-world business tasks. All right, for our final section, let's focus on what is truly the most important part of this whole equation: the human. Real success with AI isn't just about automation. It's all about creating a safe and effective partnership between people and these new digital teammates.
One of the absolute biggest risks in this partnership is something called hallucination. This is when an AI generates an answer that sounds completely confident and authoritative, but is either subtly incorrect or just entirely made up. The crucial thing to remember here is this: just because an AI sounds right does not mean it is right. And this is a critical risk you have to manage in any business setting.
So the primary safeguard against this risk is a human-in-the-loop system. This model is all about balancing automation with human oversight. The AI can do, say, 95% of the heavy lifting, the analysis, the data processing, the drafting, but for those high-impact decisions, a human expert has to review and give that final approval. This is how you ensure safety, compliance, and accountability.
And that really brings us to our final thought. Understanding all these terms isn't just some academic exercise. It's about getting ready for a whole new way of working. The conversation is shifting away from that fear of replacement and more toward the reality of collaboration. So the real question we should all be asking ourselves is this: how can we best partner with our new, intelligent digital teammates to achieve way more than we ever could alone? Thanks so much for joining this explainer.